Let's talk business today. I'd like to talk about something that I started proposing about 18 years ago. And most finance people, especially the CFOs, said this was mathematically impossible. At the same time, we may be looking at a paradigm shift, and not because we've been intentional about it, the pandemic. Sometimes bad situation, misfortune can create openings. And I think it's sort of split the Red Sea for this paradigm shift. And the pandemic, what it's done, it's made it difficult for businesses to hire people because people were paid to stay at home. So it became difficult for businesses to find really good people. And now they're afraid to fire those people. And at the same time, the Federal Reserve is driving up interest rates, which traditionally would force a recession. And we're not going into that recession. They keep saying recession is coming. Maybe it's a soft landing. We're really perhaps in uncharted territory, as much as we try to make it seem like this has happened similarly in the past. I don't think so. I think because of the pandemic, we've come to this perfect storm for this entirely new paradigm that we haven't seen before. At the same time, what may be missing is the mindset of organizations, of leadership, has not caught up to what the pandemic is forcing them to do with their businesses. And what we've seen in the past is businesses have problems. And perhaps this problem has always existed in corporations, and no one has ever sat down and worked out or looked under a rock to see if there was some new possibility. And this is what I'll call the problem solutions mass. And the problem solutions mass occurs when a problem to a solution creates a new problem. And the subsequent solution to the new problem creates another problem. And the cycle of solution creating problems continues. And this cycle can be seen in corporate America, where you essentially create a problem, you have a problem, you create a solution for it. That new solution creates an entirely new problem for which you need a new solution. And that new solution just never stops, right? And for the most part, corporations have two gears to ensure success. In good times, hire people. In bad times, you lay employees off. And that creates a whole nother set of problems, right? Up to now, no one has looked under a rock for a new possibility of those two gears. Good times, hire people. Bad times, fire people. And because businesses only have two gears, the US economy perpetuates a feast or famine environment. When an auto manufacturer, for example, lays off 10,000 employees, the famine actually begins. That action removes consumers from the economy. And as a result, home builders lay off employees because they lost buyers from the car makers. With less homes selling or being made, washer and dryer companies begin layoffs. Those layoffs negatively affect auto companies and other industries, and they're all forced to increase layoffs. That puts the US economy into a downward spiral. After the economy bottoms out and the blood settles, most organizations must fill at least 80% of the vacant positions. Imagine you lay off 10,000 people, and now you have to refill 80% of those 10,000 positions. That means additional expenses to advertise for jobs that were once filled. Staff and management must stop productive activities to interview prospective employees. New employees must be trained, a percentage leave, and the cycle starts over. If you observe, while many enterprises saved money with layoffs, they spend more than they saved to fill the new positions. And this leaves corporations with no choice except to play a shell game to hide this losing strategy. then that means they're going to have to they have to hide the fact that they spent a lot just to save a little. It just looks good to lay off people. And that leads to buying back shares, and that increases your price to earnings ratios. You change accounting principles and other financial reengineering practices. And this is all the result of companies only having two gears. And all these reengineering is a way to hide that you actually spent so much more money. So, like for example, you save $10 million by laying people off, and then you have to spend 30 million. I'm not saying those are the right numbers, but you spend 30 million to fill 80% of those positions. And now you have to hide that so no one knows it. But you want to make your share price look good. And furthermore, if you think about this, layoffs cause financial stress for unemployed workers. That leads to divorce. According to a Life Innovation study, corporate America is losing $300 billion a year in workplace productivity because of divorce and bad relationships. When a couple is going through divorce, they are distracted, as you can imagine, and their work performance drops by 50 to 75%. As you see, corporate America's solution to rising interest rates, right? Interest rates rise, you lay people off, it creates a problem, which is to lay people off, which creates another problem, and in turn creates another problem that requires solutions that create other problems. Reengineering, even that's a problem. The company is not doing well, but we're hiding that. If there were a third strategy, it would mean businesses embrace a new mindset. That mindset asks a question. What would organizations have to do to make employees so valuable that it costs more to lay them off than it is to keep them? So, are there new transformative possibilities? I've had this exact conversation with a number of former CEOs, and I wasn't off the mark. Well, what we did is peel this problem down in layers, and I did it succinctly here, and saw that the problem was much bigger. So, after extensive conversations with those Fortune 500 CEOs, there is a third possibility companies can implement. The third possibility supports the intention of an organization to perpetually provide products and services. We want to stay around. Instead of solving never ending problems, which is the problem solutions mass, imagine instead of creating an organization that drives innovation so that you perpetually exist, you're in this problem solutions mass where you're solving problems that create new problems for each solution that you create. That creates more busy work than innovative work. So, this new possibility to which I'm referring requires training staff and management beyond product knowledge or new technology. The goal is to place employees on the balance sheet as assets instead of liabilities. Why? When an enterprise has assets, they know how to increase the value of an asset. With a building, you can make capital improvements and increase market value of the asset from, let's say, 1 million to 1.5 million in a relatively short time. So, how can that be done for staff and management? Perhaps the military has created a model that the business world can emulate. When the military trains soldiers and special forces, the soldier becomes an asset. Navy SEALs, for example, are a $2 million investment for one person. Once the Navy invests that kind of money into one person, they don't want to lose them. It will cost $2 million to replace them. And that doesn't even count the value of experience and knowledge that they gain over time. So you don't want to lose that asset. Navy SEALs are actually a great example because they are trained to operate beyond their limiting beliefs. A lot of people think they just indoctrinate them and they're trying to force them to become someone else. What really they're training out limiting beliefs. they're actually getting them to break through limiting beliefs. That's what the training is, getting them to operate beyond what they normally know how to do. And what you see is they are resilient and can be counted on to get the job done within specified time periods, even in the face of breakdowns and chaos. This breakthrough mindset is one that would benefit corporations. In fact, if you have a top leader in an organization who is responsible for, let's say, $10 million in revenue, what investments can be made to increase that executive's value from 10 million to 20 million in one calendar year? Making that kind of leap would be a breakthrough, especially if it can be replicated in the top 10 to 20 executives. Like Navy SEALs, the executive would have to break through limiting beliefs, discover blind spots, and unlearn them. This would empower the manager to make a paradigm shift. And that's what I'm saying is needed in this environment is a paradigm shift. They'd create new innovative initiatives and become more resilient when managing the imminent problems that come with new territory, especially new territory. You just haven't been there. There's no blueprint. How do you navigate that when you're not sure, when there's so much uncertainty? In addition, by creating breakthrough initiatives, new skills and competencies will be learned while penetrating untapped markets and realizing new revenue. By rolling this out enterprise wide, all employees would be too valuable to lay off. Because employees are more innovative, they will be more capable of creating new initiatives that can earn additional revenue or provide significant cost savings. Because blind spots and limiting beliefs are unlearned, staff and management will be more effective at managing conflict and problems while being more resilient in the face of constant change, especially in this environment. You have pandemics, you have economics, you have competition, you have wars, geopolitical. There are all kinds of things that are driving constant change. How do you train your people to be able to effectively manage that? Furthermore, in many cases, breakthrough initiatives require employees to develop new skills and competencies, and that increases the value of your organization. People, right? We hear that so often. Our people are our competitive edge. How do you create people into competitive edges? Assets. This strategy promotes loyalty, motivation, and engagement. At the same time, it serves as a magnet to attract and retain top talent. It also allows organizations to constantly create new innovative business units. Instead of laying people off, they can be transferred from one new profit center to another. Those profit centers and employees would be additional assets on the balance sheet that you can actually measure the value of those assets. And you'd be able to measure the increased value of each employee creates within a calendar year. The pandemic has forced this new paradigm. It was created in an environment where new possibilities can be created and innovation and revenue growth can constantly increase. This would be good for customers, employees, management, shareholders or investors, and society. Investing in a transformation of mindset would be the new corporate social responsibility that will make people more effective at work and in their home lives. And I think this would help mitigate many of the divorces where people have, because they don't have the effective conflict resolution skills or the ability to be able to navigate the uncertainty or problems that come in a marriage or intimate relationship. So these are my thoughts. I've had these for a while. I'd love to know what you think of what I just said. Do you think I'm really off, or do you think the pandemic has forced an opportunity for us to train people in a way that we normally don't train them? And I think the Navy SEAL, the way they invest in their people and put value on a Navy SEAL as an asset is something that corporations can look at. And how do you make your people that valuable, that laying them off costs too much? What are your thoughts? Like and share the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon. Take care and goodbye.